All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
Howdy.
Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the fall. Weather's finally getting a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though it can't make up its mind. I wake up one morning, it's like, oh, I need a coat. Then by the end of the day, it's like, oh, I don't need my coat.
Really? Yeah.
So some constant level would be good. Well, basically today we're going to be focusing on the announcements from Apple. So let's first just welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm glad everybody braves the traffic to get here.
Yeah. Right.
There's a little congestion by the bathroom for me. I don't know about.
Yeah. Right.
We were talking before the meeting. We're considering going back to a live face-to-face meeting. I know some people are looking forward to that. Other people are like, well, I don't want the drive. So, but we will keep you updated. And if you have any input on that, that's a good thing, a bad thing. The locations, Terry has mentioned his new place, which we'll check out and see if that might work. But we are going to be making that decision in the very near future. So if you have any input on that, please pass that along to one of the steering committee people. And that's my next slide here, our steering committee. Matt Canizio, David Day, which I didn't see David pop in yet. Terry Morrows, welcome back, Terry.
Thank you.
Marguerite Peterson, Ed Sheeran, Jeanne Sparks, I'm George Wagner, and Bob Wilkerson. So if you have any questions, comments, not just about when we go to a live meeting, but if you have ideas for what you want to see in a meeting, if you want to present, please feel free to make that offer. We'd love to have other people present. I'm sure you get bored listening to my voice all the time, so that's fine. I understand. If you don't feel like presenting, but you do have ideas, that's fine too. Somebody, myself or David or Kevin or somebody will be more than happy to do the presentation. But we do want ideas of what content you'd like to see. Because if not, you're going to see all the stuff that makes me happy. And that might be a little more involved than some people want or less involved than other people want. So input, that's what we need. Just like our computers need input. All right, so let's get back to the fun stuff. Apple made some announcements in their annual September announcement. The iPhone 15 and the Apple Watch. We'll go into some detail on both of those. Some very neat things that they've done, and looking forward to actually upgrading to the 15 myself. I've been waiting for it. My battery has had the needs service for a while. It's like, I'm not going to buy a new battery if I'm getting a new watch or a new phone. Does make sense. So we'll start with the iPhone 15. It's basically broken down into kind of two groups: the basic model, the iPhone 15 itself, and then the Pro and Pro Max models. The iPhone 15, all of them come with the dynamic island, which is that black spot at the top. Remember, the early ones had the wide, like inch wide section. The new one is dynamic. It basically goes from a small, maybe eighth of an inch width, and then will dynamically spread in size depending on what information it's going to display. They use it as an information portal, so it actually has a more of a purpose than it used to, which is kind of cool. Okay. The iPhone 15 will use the A16 chip, same one that was in the iPhone 14 Pro. It's available in 5 colors: the black, blue, pink, white, and yellow. They've improved the camera with a greater optical zoom, 48 megapixel sensor, as opposed to, I think the previous one was a 12 megapixel. So much greater capability there. And they're using titanium instead of steel. It's a lighter, stronger material, so the phones will be noticeably lighter, but still have a very sturdy metal holding it together. So I'm excited about that. The battery life is supposed to also be improved. They tend to do that with each version. The new version of the operating system will offer some new bells and whistles. We'll get into that in a future meeting. But the iPhone Pro and Pro Max, they use the A17 chip. It's the newer, faster chip. Looking at some of the specs, it's incremental speeds, about 10 to 12% overall speed boost, bigger graphics boost, but it is smaller, which means it's going to take up less power, which in the long run is going to benefit our battery life considerably. So there's definitely some benefits to it, but speed wise, you're not going to see a big jump in speed, which is fine because A16 was a pretty speedy chip in itself. But the other benefits will definitely be noticeable. Improved battery life is always a plus. The Pro models come in 4 colors: black, dark blue, dark gray. Hang on, let me fix that spelling. Okay.
I love the fall
gray.
when the dark gray colors come out.
I know. Well, you know, then the light gray too, but I didn't what capitals here.
You get rid of that.
That is weird. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm annoyed.
No, yep.
I know. I know what happened. Let's see. Text. Where is it? Oh, it's just being annoying. You spelled it again. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So dark gray and light gray. We'll do they'll release the gray colors next year. It has an even better camera. They have on the Pro version, they have a 3x optical zoom, and on the Pro Max version, they have the 5x optical zoom. The digital zoom on the Pro is 15, and the Pro has a 25x. I'm a little annoyed about that because I don't like the bigger phone, but I like the better camera. So I wish we could get the smaller Pro with the 5x and the 25x. But that's just me, I suppose. I'm not a tablet on the side of the head kind of guy, you know. But the new phones look really nice. I haven't had a chance to play with them. I think next time I'm in Greenville, I'll stop at the Apple store and take a look at them. And then if my wallet allows, maybe pick one up. I'll definitely be planning on picking one up soon because my phone's only going like an hour or so before I have to plug it in.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's like 69% of its original capacity, and it has a message saying, "You need to replace this." It's having trouble.
George, I just realized looking at your colors here for the 15 Pro Max, which I ordered a couple of days ago. I'm
Yeah.
not getting it for a month, that's fine. But I ordered white, so who knows what color I'm gonna get.
Well, it's probably the light gray.
Okay. All right.
I tried to order it as well, and I was going for the light color, and the wait list at the time I ordered was into November. And since I always put a wallet around my phone, I decided to heck with the color. I got the dark blue, which came in yesterday, and here is the dark blue. So it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit my old case because the camera things are much bigger than the 11 that I had. But my 11 was rose gold, and I love my rose gold much better than the blue. That's a female approach.
Well,
Yeah.
I actually had the same issue a few years back. I liked the black, and they didn't have the black, but they had the white. But I put it in a case anyway, so once I put it in the case, you couldn't tell.
Can't tell. Yeah. Yeah. That's my question. Another question too. My old phone's a 13. I wonder if the 15 will fit the case.
Very unlikely.
Very unlikely.
For
And
a
how
couple
about
of
the
reasons.
charger? How about the charger?
No, the charger won't. The new phones are the last move into the USB-C connector. The Lightning connector is no longer on the iPhone. So I use the USB-C on both ends now.
Okay.
And people are going to complain. You know, Apple goes like 14 years between connectors, but as soon as they do, it's like they just changed it from the big one. No, that was like years ago.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind this is not totally Apple's decision. The European Union made a ruling about a year ago, I think, that all smartphones needed to use the USB-C connection. to make it universal for charging purposes, which I understand. But the differences between the Lightning and the USB-C are such that there could have been issues where Apple might not have been able to do some of the things that they could have done with a proprietary connection. But I think Apple had already made the plan to make the move to the USB-C because the USB-C is more robust. And because Apple's been involved with the USB-C development, I think they made sure that all their needs were fulfilled by it. So it worked out to be a win-win.
Okay.
And that will make third-party chargers a lot easier and cheaper.
The only
Because
thing that comes with the phone is a cord. It doesn't, that disc charger does not come with it. That's a separate purchase. You just get the cord with the two ends being identical.
Yeah.
And the only place I could plug that in was in my computer until I found an adapter.
Yeah.
So that's all you get is a cord.
Yeah.
Now, also keep in mind, for the last several versions, since I have an 11, I came with my 11. Since the 11, my iPhone came with this USB-C brick. So as long as I have the new cord, I'm good to go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you have an older phone, then yeah, you have the old USB connection on the brick. Additionally, Apple's really been pushing the basically the wireless charging, and you've got that. And if you are looking with the newer ones, the MagSafe connection is great for the charging, because one of the problems with the charging pads is that it has to be put on the exact right spot for the wireless charging to work. If you're too far up or too far down, you miss the spot, it's not charging. With the MagSafe, it has the magnet that snaps it into place, puts it in the exact spot it needs to be in. So that's a real nice thing. Plus, there's a lot of mounts and such that use the MagSafe, so it's very quick and easy to mount on your car or on your motorcycle or bicycle or wherever you want to mount it. So that's a really very neat thing. I have a mount that doesn't have the MagSafe, but it has a sensor, an NFC sensor. So when I put the phone near it, the little arms and feet widen, put the phone in, and it collapses on top of it. I spent about 10 minutes just putting it close, moving away, putting it close, moving away, watching it go back and forth. I'm easily amused, what can I say? But I thought it was good. What was really frustrating for me, though, is that I actually had that mount, didn't have the power connector plugged into it, so it never did it. And I installed it for a client of mine, and it did that. Wow, I didn't know it did that.
Mark, Margaret, and Sandy, did y'all go through the vendor to order your phones, or did you go direct to Apple?
I went to Apple.
Did you?
Mhm.
Because I know Verizon's got a fairly good deal now. I always use Verizon, but they'll give you $850 for iPhone 11.
Well, that's interesting because Apple offered 300 for my 11 Max Pro.
Yeah, because Verizon, of course, you got to sign their contract and everything
Right.
like
No,
that.
and
But
I didn't want that. I
Yeah.
have consumer cellular now, and we
Okay.
went through quite a bit yesterday to get the eSIM card converted. I don't get a SIM card anymore. It goes by computer now. And it was a
Okay.
problem. I was getting phone calls, couldn't make any. This being my only phone, it said, call your provider. Hello. So we pulled in a neighbor. But I at the time I ordered, Consumer Cellular didn't have them. And that's why I went to Apple directly.
Okay, I was just curious because I'm
Yeah,
thinking about going through. I've been using Verizon for 20 years now, and I might just go ahead and use Verizon anyway.
I switched to Mint Mobile a while back because I was paying like $250 a year on Mint Mobile for my contract. So it's definitely a lot cheaper than Verizon was.
Yeah.
Well, I activated my watch with Consumer Cellular, and that went up by $5. So my bill per month now is about $34.
Oh,
It's cheap.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
Good.
what I have with Cricket. If you let them, if you use paperless billing, they give you a $9 discount. So I've been paying $35. It's really basically unlimited. I use something like 2/10 of a or 0.02% of the allocated download stuff. So I'm happy with it.
All right. So any questions on the iPhone 15?
I just wanted to say, I didn't go through Verizon for the contract like Marguerite too, but they didn't offer a trade-in on my Macs. It was something. Or-
Yeah, well, I keep getting all these emails from Verizon now about, trade-in policy, because like I said, I travel over the state all the time, and I just like, I know I can make connection with Verizon about wherever I go,
Hmm.
and that's what I like about it.
Well, about 24 years ago, I had consumer cellular when I had my motorhome, and that's why I got them, because no matter what state I was in, I was able to connect my little flip phone then with consumer cellular. When I find it with them is the customer service is outstanding. I mean, I was on the phone for 2 hours last night on somebody else's phone with them, and they could not have been more helpful.
That's good. I might look into it then.
I mean, they use other people's towers, so I
Right.
have never had a failure with them, not back then and not now.
It's good.
Right. Yeah, they use Sprint and T-Mobile's towers. I use Mint as well, and you do have some dead spots, especially if you're in the woods or something, that Verizon is better covered if coverage is most important. But I use Mint while I was on the road, and I pay about $25 a month for I think 10 gigabytes of data and unlimited texting, and that worked out okay. But you're still using the T-Mobile and Sprint towers.
Terry, I think they bumped up the plan, so you may actually have more now.
They did. I I I would do better if I paid for a whole year at a time. I think the last time I renewed, I only did 3 months, so I got a little bit of a hit more.
Yeah, but
If
they were advertising they across the board bumped up their plans by 5 gigs. So if you were getting 10, you should be getting 15 now.
Right, but I went down. I got cheap because I may reconsider at the end of this year. So it went back up. So I went with the same 10 gigabytes of storage at the $25 mark just to get me through the rest of the year, and then I'll either stick with them and pay a whole year and get it real cheap with a lot of data, or I'll consider something else. But yeah,
Yeah.
I did see that, and that was helpful on the road.
Yeah, but see, it's weird because I was paying 25 and getting 15 gig before, and it should be 20 now. And then before I moved to the year plan.
Yeah.
So
They were
Question?
helpful and they were cheap, but they did have a lot of dead spots.
Question, what Terry, what is the name you're using? Mint? I have a hearing loss and I didn't hear the
Yeah, Mint, MINT. Yeah,
name. MINT?
yeah.
Okay. Well, I use a carrier called something like a Red Pocket. I pay $10 a month.
all right, so let's move on to the Apple Watch.
George,
Yes.
one question about the iPhone 15. I have a 14 and I looked at the specs for the 14 and the 15 on the camera. And the camera seems to be about the same on the 14 and the 15. Am I missing something?
Are you talking about the 14 Pro or the 14?
14 Pro Max.
Okay.
14 Pro Max.
Okay. And comparing to the 15 Pro Max, I believe the 14 Pro Max was a 3x zoom, not a 5x zoom.
Okay.
And I don't believe it had the 48 megapixel sensor as either. So if you want to double check my specs on that, I don't have the 14 specs in front of me. So I think that you have the 14 Pro's Pro Max camera was better than the previous cameras that came before it, but I think this one's another step up from that. And keep in mind, optical zoom is really the best quality zoom you'll get. It's always going to be much better than the digital zoom. Not that the digital zoom is bad, but if you have optical, you're going to get a much clearer image, and that clearer image makes it possible to do a better digital zoom. That's why the 15 Pro is at the 15 Pro is a 15x digital zoom, and the Pro Max is a 25x, and that's because it has the 3x sensor versus the 5x sensor, optical sensor. So
Yeah, they've made huge changes in the telephoto on the 15 Pro Max. Now the lens now uses a series of prisms in order to make it almost the equivalent of a 150 millimeter zoom lens now. So the rest of the lenses, but the biggest is the telephoto is significantly different. From all the pros, they say that the battery and everything is basically the same as the 14, but the camera was a huge jump. And if telephoto photography is something that's important to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other than that, I mean, the speed is a incremental improvement, but yeah, the camera is really the big difference, and the titanium.
Yeah.
Which should make it lighter to hold as well.
There's been word about the 15 heating up. And I have to say, while mine was being charged and set up, it got hot. But then I downloaded the update or the software update, and it has not heated up since then. So it did get hot the first time around.
Yeah. I mean, I have that problem with my old phone sometimes. It stops charging because it gets too warm. So, all right. Oh, and one very important thing. Make sure if you buy third-party cords that they are certified. Because there are some cords coming in from China. Happened a few years ago where some woman basically had it on her bed and it caught fire because the cord didn't have the appropriate sensing capability to stop charging when it was full. And so it overcharged and caused the phone to catch fire. So make sure that they are certified. What you really want are the ones that are MiFi certified from Apple, because most cords for charging purposes, they're fine. But for data, they're not. So if you do any synchronizing over your cord on the computer, that is very important, because I had my old Apple cord was worn, it was fraying, and so I didn't want to use it. So I put in a different cord, and I did a software update over from the computer, and it failed 3 times. And for some reason, I thought, well, I wonder, and I took the old beat up Apple cord, plugged it in, and it worked the first time. So those cords, they'll say, data power, but they know that 99% of the people are just using for charging, so they've probably never really tested it for data because it was having some issues. So make sure that they are certified. I do like the Anchor name. If you're looking for cables, they have some really good ones. They're braided.
I love Anchors. I've never had a problem with them ever.
Yeah, and anything from Anchor you'll be good with. And I'm sure there's some other companies that will have that as well. But once you find a company that is good for that, it kind of stay in their orbit. All right, Apple released 2 models of watches. The new Apple Watch Series 9, which uses the new S9 system and processor chip. It's much faster. It's 2 times brighter than the previous model. Too bad David's not here. He'd like this feature, the HomePod control from the phone. It has some very neat capabilities. The new Smart Stack feature, which lets you deal with widgets and such on the watch in a much easier way. They added some new colors in addition to the previous colors. They've added the pink, starlight, and silver. And don't ask me, I don't know what starlight is. I think must be a darker color, I guess. The other 2 are pretty light.
Starlight is like it's like it's got a little bit more yellow than silver,
Okay.
but it's still a very light color. So
what's this light color stuff? Where's the dark depressing colors? Come on. I'm gonna go into a little bit on the double tap feature in a minute, but that's a new feature that they've introduced. That's gonna be very useful, I think. Okay, and then the Apple Watch Ultra 2, all the features you just saw, plus it uses a titanium case, water resistance up to 100 meters, or down to 100 meters actually. The IP6X dust resistance 2 rating, on-device Siri. So if you're somewhere where you don't have internet, good internet connection, you'll still be able to use Siri, which has always been a problem with if you're in an area that's kind of spotty. You try to use Siri, and she's like, working on it, and then fails. So that's definitely going to be very useful. But that was only listed as a feature on the Ultra 2.
Does anyone know how popular the Ultras are? As opposed to the regular series, are they selling well, or is it a niche product?
That I don't know.
I thought they were more for like diving and that kind of thing, that they're more for aggressive.
Durable.
I have not heard of anybody who's been upset about it, but you are paying a premium for it, the ruggedness of it.
Yeah.
I did hear that Apple is no longer supporting the gold $15,000 Apple Watch that so y'all are out of luck if you bought any of those.
Well, now I would be talking to a lawyer about that, because I thought that those things were advertised as having lifetime support.
No, they made it official that it's no longer you're out of luck.
Well, luckily I don't have to worry about that.
One less thing to worry about.
Or unluckily, as the case may be. If I had the money to waste on the watch, I wouldn't care. All right. So the double tap device is kind of cool. It's only available on the Series 9 and the Ultra 2. I'm not sure if they'll be able to add it to the other ones or not, because it may require some hardware that the other ones just didn't have. But basically, you'll raise your watch to wake it up, and then you double tap your finger, index finger, and thumb, just to do taps, and it can sense that, and that is actually a trigger. By default, it will do whatever the primary button in whatever app you're in does. There's some customization you can do with it as well. Basically, it's the one-handed glance is gives you access to all your most regularly viewed information. So it's a very cool feature. I can't wait to see it in action, because if you've got a bag in your one hand and you want to do something, you do it, or even if you have a bag in both hands, you can kind of just raise the watch, double tap, and get information without having to do any physical machinations to hold your stuff. So that would be a very very useful feature, I think. And I'm sure they're going to market the heck out of that. So, any questions on the Apple Watches? Okay. All right. How about general questions? Anybody have any just general?
Any
You guys-
rumors on if they're going to be coming out with new Macs? I've heard back and forth, but I didn't know with the with the M3 possible, if anybody had heard anything.
Well, I heard that they're going to skip the M2 for the iMac, go straight to an M3.
Mhm.
So that'd be the
Well,
next
I
line.
read yesterday where they postponed the M3 until 24, because I'm looking at the laptops, and so they said they definitely postponed to 24 for the M3
That-
chip.
Okay.
That's a shame, because that means there'll be no new iMac for Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes me feel a little better. As you remember, I was holding out and ended up with an M1. So I won't be kicking myself in the butt as hard in
Or
2020,
assume.
in 2024.
Mhm.
Anyway, this is just as fast as I could use.
Yeah.
My kidding.
I'm not holding out hope for it, but I'm still in the back of my mind wishing that they will do a larger iMac, because I have a lot of people requesting that. And in my head, if they can fit a 24-inch screen into the space of the 21-inch screen, then they should be able to fit maybe a 30-inch into the space of the 27-inch. Maybe a little bit bigger, but that same similar size. And I think if they go from a 24 to 30, that's a big enough jump to make it worthwhile. Going from a 24 to 27 doesn't make sense. I understand the logic there, but if they can fit a larger screen in there and keep the costs in the same realm as the larger iMac, then I'm hoping they'll do that.
You think they'll go back to an all-in-one computer that size? Because I mean, with the with the Mac Minis and the theaters, I would think that they kind of are pushing towards making it modular.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that, but there's a lot of people that like the all-in-one design. There
Yeah.
really are. And it does make it convenient on a desk. You have just one thing. You don't have to have a monitor and the computer. So there's definite benefits to it. So, and they had two different markets.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that are looking for the modular design are people who are going to be moving to a bigger monitor later, or adding this, or adding this, a little more customization. Those are more the professional users. The iMac is geared more towards the home and casual user.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was enough to have that niche and have it in more than one size.
Well, if my exposure to people is any gauge, there's enough people asking for it in my circle of clients that if that is expanded to the general population, it's significant enough that I think it would be a market for them. They've made things for less people.
Oh, I know. No, I have two of them, so I mean, I understand the desire. I just didn't know if that was something. I mean, they've got a lot of irons in the fire. I didn't know if they wanted to, add one more product to their what they're trying to keep, current.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that.
I want to make a comment about Apple. I had been eyeing the modular setup myself, and the fact that the Apple screen is almost 3 times as expensive as the Mac Mini is bizarre. It truly is bizarre. I mean, nobody's going to buy the Apple monitor at that, well, unless you've got a whole lot of cash. But if you're going to go for the Mac Mini, then I don't know of anybody that wants to go for the Apple monitor at that cost.
Margaret, keep in mind that monitor is not aimed at you or me. It's aimed at the professional who needs color matching, who needs the the brightness, the speed of the resolution, or the refresh rates. It's not designed for the average user. Apple basically stopped making a monitor for the average user because there were so many third-party companies who made comparable monitors. It was a market that they said, you know what, we're going to put our resources elsewhere where we can make something that stands out from the pack as opposed to just another monitor. They did that years ago when they dropped out of printers. They've done that before with certain components that they'll say, you know what, the third-party market's doing a good enough job. Let's let them do that. We'll move on to something else. Because they have to, if they don't do that occasionally, they have so many different products that it becomes unwieldy and they become a slow behemoth as opposed to a more nimble company. Apple is not by any means a nimble startup, but they are more nimble than most companies of that size. They can make changes quicker than most, and a lot of that has to do with something that Steve Jobs, talked about years ago, and that is the skill of knowing when to say no. Apple said no to a lot of excellent products, but they had to make it fit into what they wanted, and that monitor is designed for the professional market. That's the monitor that's going to go with the Pro model more than the iMac or more than the Mini.
And I think that's what's attractive about the iMac for a lot of people is when you're buying a computer, if I just have to focus on one thing as opposed to the Mac Mini and then a monitor and then I got to get my keyboard, it's like all the little pieces of it rather than just buying an iMac and have the whole thing. So
and this group knows this more than anybody. We trust Apple. So If we see two things, one has Apple's name on it, one doesn't, we will go with the Apple one without even hesitating because we trust Apple. So of course you see an Apple monitor, you say, oh, I want the Apple monitor. But again, it's not designed for the market that we're talking about. And so now we have to decide, oh, we have to go third party. Well, who's third party? There's 14 different companies who make all these different monitors. Which one do I want? Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. Forget it. Give me an iMac. Yeah. And that's a big decision maker, I think.
But the third
Well,
party availability of monitors with camera and microphone is rather limited compared to the availability of monitors in general. There are not that many with those two components. Just plain monitors are endless if you search those. But finding the combination of a monitor with a microphone, in other words, to be on a meeting like this, you need the microphone and the camera. And those
Yeah,
are
and
not all that easy to find. And as Kevin
Marguerite,
knows very well, my neighbor bought a Dell and it's working fine, I think.
it is, although in hook, excuse me, in hooking up that monitor, it required two cables to the back of the Mac Mini rather than just, one cable or, I ended up having to hook in two cables to get both the video working and the microphone and the monitor. So that just seemed to me like using up more ports when, it would have been nice to just have one cable to do it all.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to go that route. And they didn't come out with the Mini in time. But anyway, I discovered that you have to do your searches for conference monitors. That will narrow down your, those are the ones with the audio video built in. But, if you do your research, you stick that in conference instead of just monitor.
And I believe Apple has some third-party monitors on their store that would have all those features as well. And that kind of gives Apple's, stamp of approval. This monitor works well for this. So you might want to check
well,
those.
let me tell you, I decided to build my own system and use a Mac Mini, I have this great nest of wires on my desk, but I had the monitor. I did have to get it's a cheap monitor. I have a monitor that's from BenQ, whatever that is, BenQ, and I had to get a Nexigo camera and microphone. And for reasons beyond my understanding, every time I get on a Zoom like this, it doesn't connect my microphone unless I unplug it from the Mac Mini and then replug it. And that solves the problem. But that's why when I came on earlier, I kept saying, hello, hello, because I have to look at my system settings and see if my voice is being picked up. And if anybody knows how to connect a Mac Mini to a Nexigo camera, I'd appreciate it. But that's the solution after lots of effort. I went this route simply because I have Dave Clark down the road, but also it's a lot cheaper. My Mac Mini is only $500 and it's running an M2 chip.
Yeah.
And I had all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So you were able to use the stuff from the earlier generations. I happen to have an extra sound bar, so I have this great big sound bar behind here. Anyway, it was because I was cheap, but I paid for it in effort. And if you want, I've used up every single port in the Mac Mini. Plus, I have to use the expander chip that Terry Morrow's put in a long time ago in order to get everything connected.
I thought you could run video and everything through HDMI, but you have to have the right version. So there are several versions of HDMI cables. You would have to you should be able to do it on HDMI or USB-C, but you have to have the right version in order to be able to run all three on one cable.
Well, you may have some brilliant ideas, but Anyway, it is a rat's nest. I've used up every single port that's on there, and then had to double a couple of them.
Yeah.
And they come in with different kinds of settings. Well, anyway, thanks to Dave Clark, I'm able to do it, but I would never do it again. It was just too much work. $500 was a deal at Best Buy for the M2 Mac Mini. And that's why I did it. Normally it's 800, it's $700. Anyway, such is life.
Yeah. And there are advantages to having a separate camera because your monitor may not be at the perfect angle for Zoom, but a perfect angle for viewing. To be able to have the camera at one angle and the monitor at the other angle would have its advantages.
Okay.
Also, you can use your phone, your iPhone, as your camera for your computer.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, look, I'm just in the beginning leagues of this stuff, and I thought it would be easy to do and use some of my older equipment. But anyway, I'm having this problem of connecting properly to the Mac Mini.
Yeah, unplugging and plugging back in is basically resetting the USB hub. So there's some error that is creeping in when you exit out of Zoom. That when you unplug that, it's clearing up that error. What you might want to do.
Yeah, go ahead.
What you might want to do is if you had to install software for that, uninstall and reinstall the software.
For the what?
For the is it Nexus?
Yeah, I have a Nexi Go.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this, okay, uninstall and install. Well, that's an interesting idea.
And actually check their website, make sure there's no updates.
Okay.
Not all apps are designed to automatically check for updates. There may be an option within the program to usually under the help or the preferences to check for updates. And it can, if it has that, do that first, see if that resolves the issue. If that doesn't, then I would try uninstalling and reinstalling the NextGo software.
Okay. Well, worth coming to the meeting.
Yeah.
George,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just thought of a question to ask the group. iPad OS 17. Anybody running it?
Yeah.
Okay. I swear that my my iPad Pro has slowed down. You know, see, all my actions of tapping and everything, you know, I'm used to a certain speed of things happening. And they seem to take everything seems to take just a fraction of a second longer for everything. I got on the internet, I didn't see anything about it. I shut it off, you know, I did a cold restart. It's the same thing every day. And I'm sure it coincided with the installation of 17.
How much RAM do you have in your iPad?
Well, I'm not sure about the RAM. Yeah, I have plenty of space for everything.
Well, it's probably, you know, just from my experience, how much RAM you have. Because if you got just a basic 64,
No, this came with 128. What's
okay?
The entry of the Pro.
Okay, that's still.
And I'm using maybe a third of it, or not even that.
But Ed, that's actually different than the RAM. There's actually a separate RAM. Most of them have 2 or 4 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
That can't be that was basically something that was fixed at the beginning. You didn't have the choice of adding or to that.
Right.
One thing
I got 256 in mine, and I haven't had any problem with it whatsoever.
Matt, was your Mac on the low end of the upgradable models?
It has the M1 in it. This is the iPad Pro 2 generations ago.
Yeah, shouldn't have an issue then. Huh?
No, it's never.
I would think that
Um,
probably would fix that with updates, software updates, because the size of the memory should not be
Yeah,
a problem. You should,
I'm
you'll
just,
have,
I'm
you should have
waiting.
enough RAM.
I have a hunch it's just sort of clear up on its own. You know, Apple is gonna put an update for something else and not talk about it, and then it'll be fixed.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just,
it's one of those things that
Mhm.
it looks really good in the lab, and then you put it on 100 million machines, and then you
Yeah.
start finding
yeah,
issues, as well as all the other apps are all having to upgrade in order to deal with the new iOS. So as everybody's updating, kind of figuring things out,
Yeah.
it should improve.
I
And one of
think
the
it
things,
will.
yeah, one of the things is Apple has expanded the access to the system to apps. There's some background tasks that these apps are performing that if that app is not fully compatible with the new version of the OS and hasn't been updated yet, that background task is constantly back there. It can be slowing up the works. So
And
putting it
I'm
in a
wondering,
fresh install would really be the only way to know for sure. And I don't think you want to go through that hassle.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it, and it's, you know, Safari doesn't have a problem. Some of my games do, and now that you mention it, I bet that's what it is. They're not optimized.
Matt, are you using any of the assistive, assistive touch features? Okay.
No.
I'm just wondering, when you were talking about that, I was thinking, geez, I wonder if something got flipped on. And so because you can change in assistive touch, you can change the tracking sensitivity, etc. So I'm wondering if, just looking at go into accessibility and then go into touch and see if assistive touch is off or not. And if it is, then that shouldn't be a factor. But because I've got iPad OS 17 running on my 9th generation iPad, and I've not had any issues whatsoever in terms of speed or anything like that. So
Also check sometimes when an update is put in, things get put back to default settings. And you may have changed some settings and tweaked it to the way you like it. And that default setting may have turned off something that you've been using forever. And occasionally, I actually ran into this the other day, they'll turn things on. I don't know if they've changed the default to something that used to be off is now on, but I had something that was turned on that I know I've never turned on. And I went in there and turned it off. So I would check that just to make sure that everything is set the way you like it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, everyone.
You also may want to uninstall any apps that you just don't use anymore.
Yeah,
Or you can go into the settings and have them go dormant if you don't use them after 30 days or whatever. The icon is still there, but basically the app has been
It-
kind of done,
Have a
and
look.
that
I'm sorry, good.
and that will if that's a app that's constantly, trying to cause trouble, that
sure.
may also speed up some things. Just eliminating the app, and that may be the Achilles heel that's bogging it down.
And if you turn on the offload, unload apps option that's talking about, you'll
Right.
see a little cloud icon on those apps that have been offloaded.
Yes.
That is a real quick and easy way to find those apps you don't use and delete them.
I believe I've moved a considerable amount of stuff in the last month or so. I'm like Marguerite, I like to clean up if it's not being used. So
And you don't lose those apps either. I mean, once
know.
you've bought them, you can always re-download them if you ever have the need for them.
Yeah, in fact, if you go in the App Store and click on purchased, there's an option that says not on this device, and it'll show you all those apps that you have purchased but are not installed on the device you're currently using. And keep in
I
mind,
have a
free apps are considered to be purchases, so it'll be every app that you've done, not just one.
Yeah, and I was amazed when I looked at purchases over the years, how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
And I did, mostly games and things that I tried and then deleted them because I didn't like them. But hundreds and hundreds, I was shocked.
Yeah. I think they have an option in the App Store to hide purchases from that list, so that it doesn't, because it can get bogged down by things that you're never going to want. They're still available, but you have to basically then look at the hidden list.
I have just a comment and maybe a question for those that are using Apple Watch. If you've upgraded to the new Watch OS that now has widgets as opposed to having a dock, I've just struggled with that. Usually, when Apple makes a change, within a week or so, I'm comfortable in using it just fine. But I find that I have more issues with the Apple Watch OS upgrade than I have with other things from Apple. Everything from when I press the crown to get all my apps. In the Watch OS 9, when I'd press the crown, if I was in the M's, it stayed there. But now every time I press the crown, I'm back at the A's in my list of apps because I use a list view. And that's annoying to me because half the things I want are either in the M's or the T's or whatever. So I've got to scroll all the way down through it. And then some of my apps that I use that I used to not have in a complication, but put in my dock, now they have to go in a complication because there's no widget for it and there's no dock. They got rid of the dock. So is anybody else, have you upgraded to Watch OS 10 and are you happy with it? No one.
No,
Apparently not.
All right, I'm by myself.
I decided I would never buy one, so I'm simplifying my life.
Yeah.
I no
That's
longer
much
have
fun.
gadgetitis. Buy a gadget when it comes out.
Oh, well, I found it actually simplified my life to have the watch.
Right. It does for a lot of people. It's a wonderful product.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say they regret getting it. So.
For me, my watch was a gift from my son, and I'm kind of dependent on it now.
There you
But
go.
I have a watch question. When I first got it, I used to be able to ask Siri to find my phone. You know how that goes. And now she won't do it. She said, I don't have the app. And the app is, I think, the IMAP app.
Well,
That's
it's
what,
called, there's an app called Find My.
and when I can't find my phone or my watch. I know
Check to
that
make sure, that app didn't get deleted. If it did, if you go to the App Store and look for under purchase, you should be able to re-download it.
do I have to go to the App Store on my watch?
Yeah.
Okay, just find my, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and on the Apple Watch, Sandy, it breaks it down to find devices, find items, and find people. So I don't know. I've not deleted any of those, so I don't know if they're separate downloads. But make sure Find My is turned on your phone. And the other way to find your phone is do you have the new operating system on your watch?
Which is what?
Watch OS 10.
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay, so if you swipe up from the bottom of your watch, you'll get the control center.
Really?
And once you have the control center, when you swipe up from the bottom, then there's a thing there to ping your phone. And then you can hear an audible, so you can find where you can, if it's not far away.
Oh, the
one that looks like a phone with the with vibration on the sides.
There it goes.
That'll ping your phone.
That's all I
So
need.
that can be helpful if it's not like, you left it in the vehicle that's in your yard or, whatever. But
That's good to know, Terry. Thank you. No, Terry, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Now,
I'll take it.
I have a
Yeah.
question. I actually have a question for Terry if he's still reconditioning devices and.
I
and
am.
what-
In fact, that's what this new place will be. It'll be a wonderland of reconditioning devices. So I do a lot
you do
through the
anything-
trees and stuff. So yes, doing a lot.
can you do- I'm sorry. Can
No,
you
go
do
ahead.
anything with an Amazon Nook?
I haven't yet, but I'll be getting a lot of his stuff probably starting next week. So I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, I just want to get rid of it, you know. How do
It'll
we
go
get-
to a good home because I've got several things already lined up. So yes, I'd be happy to clear it off and put it on a new S and
Okay, that's great. How do I get it to you?
I can send you, I'll put a text message or you can just email me. It's just terrymaris@gmail.com.
Okay,
And you can either drop it off at my place, at my shop downtown, or I'll be happy to come and pick it up from you.
I'm sorry, where's your shop?
112 Commerce Street is the new address that is right next to where the driver's license renewal place is.
Oh,
That
oh,
little-
okay. My husband knows
Oh.
where it is. I can hear him in the background.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll put all the information in the meeting chat if anybody's interested with my number and contact information.
great. Okay,
Terry, what is
So-
it you have? You have a real shop now?
I do. It's been mine since October 1st. So I've
Okay.
painted it and brought in equipment, and I will have fiber optic internet starting Monday. And it'll be a shop specifically to train people and restore equipment, and hopefully we'll be able to do face-to-face for our meetings if anybody's interested. It's kind of a wonderland of nerdness, so I'm looking forward to
So-
getting it running.
So in town, there's the Upcycle Tech place that will
Right.
take devices and then they offer the devices for sale there, and then the money goes toward getting people connected to the internet, etc. How will your place? How do you work with Through the Trees? In what way?
Well, I've been working with Yvette from the beginning. So she's got grant money in order to help lower income housing get computers and internet cheap. I'm helping her actually getting the equipment, cleaning it, bringing it back to factory restall, putting in new operating systems, and then through her store, she is distributing them to people
Great.
who need them, as
Perfect.
well as I'll be anything that brings in that needs actual repair. So we're doing a lot of laptop batteries, cell phones, tablets, that kind of thing. I'm actually tearing them apart and putting in new hardware in order for students and things of that sort. So it's kind of I'm kind of helping them kind of recondition all of this equipment as well. And so she's using that upscale to as a storefront, as well as the Through the Trees as the nonprofit to kind of manage it all.
Got it.
So
Okay.
we've been
Terry?
working back and forth ever since she kind of started this thing.
what are
But
your
I never
hours?
had a
Terry,
place
do
to
you
work.
want a IBM keyboard? Perfect.
I will take everything
Oh, okay.
Okay.
because, like I said, we have got a list a mile long of people who need just a just a just the basic computer equipment to get onto the internet and do homework and that kind of thing. We've got 100 people at least looking, and all we're doing is trying to keep up with the demand. So we take
Okay.
cameras,
It's a basic
keyboards,
keyboard. Hey,
everything.
what are your hours?
My shop is not hourly yet because I'm working on also working with people in their homes, schools. I'm working in Asheville and Hendersonville. So
Okay.
it's more by appointment only. Through the Trees is, I believe,
Is that the name of your
Wednesday through Sunday is the nonprofit, and I'll put that in the meeting chat of their information as well.
is that the name of your company, Through the Trees?
No, that's the nonprofit. My
Yeah.
my company is Brevard Nerd Services.
Okay.
Catchy.
Well,
I want to, before we go, I want to back up a little bit on the find my phone. A couple of things that are very important for that. One is if you do the play sound, it doesn't matter if your phone is muted or not; it will still make the sound.
Good.
Also, there's an option in the Find My section on your devices that I would recommend you turn on, which is to record the last location before the battery dies into your iCloud account. That way, if the battery dies on the device and you do Find My, it'll still see the last location before the battery died.
So is that an app?
No, it's in the Find My options when you go on your device, go into settings, hit your Apple ID, and go down to the Find My, and there's a save last location, and that way, if you drop it somewhere and it's in the bushes, and it sits there for hours and the battery dies, you'll still find it because that last location is stored.
Okay. Great.
I just got a notice on my phone that iOS 17.1, for those that are waiting for the 0.1 to upgrade to the new operating system, should be released by October 24th. That was leaked by the French regulatory group. So that should be coming, soon for anybody who's waiting to do their upgrades.
17 is Sonoma, is that it?
This is iOS 17 on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So the new 17.1, which has some new features, will be released on at least by October 24th. Maybe sooner, but certainly by the 24th of October.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, I guess we'll call it an end then. Appreciate everybody coming. Hope you got something out of the meeting today.
Certainly did.
Thank you, George.
Please
You're
do.
welcome.
Great.
And remember, if you have any ideas, please pass them along to the steering committee. And you guys have a wonderful day and a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
George.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Terry, did you need me to leave the room open a little longer?
I put everything in the notes, but I will save everything. And if anybody, I'll put the information on the website so that you all have all this contact information
Sure.
that we've talked about. And if you save the video, if you could send that to me, I'll also put it on the website whenever it gets here.
Okay.
Very
Very
good. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.